At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2. Tuesday edition, the Hunt Palmer Show. Sharief, Ishaq talking Saints in 30 minutes. We'll mix in a little bit of Pels talk as well. Before we dive into this hour, just a little bit of housekeeping here. Well, not necessarily housekeeping. That would be our house. Just a little bit of news. I wouldn't call it breaking by any stretch of the imagination. But LeVar Brown, 5-star prospect from U-High, right here in Baton Rouge, is going to announce his college decision on July 10th. That's something we have known, but he just sent out a tweet. How many minutes ago? 6 minutes ago. And said, I will now be announcing my commitment at 12:15 p.m. University Lab School Gym on July 10th, 2025. And he's got a picture of him in LSU gear, picture of him in A&M gear, picture of him in Texas gear, picturing him in Miami gear. And so we'll find out his commitment in 10 days from the U-High gym. We'll certainly have plenty of folks on between now and then to preview that. I think you're all pretty well versed in where that has stood for a while now. He spent a lot of time in College Station. He spent a lot of time in Baton Rouge. Everyone believes it's down to those two. Does he favor staying home and playing for LSU? Does he favor spreading his wings a little bit and going to play for Texas A&M? We'll see. We'll find out on July the 10th what that looks like. Very cool opportunity for some LSU baseball players today. I was scrolling through my Twitter feed earlier this morning and found the MLB Network Twitter handle was tweeting out videos of LSU guys. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Turns out that Anthony Ianson, Jared Jones, Daniel Dickinson, and Chase Shores all went up to the Big Apple and were in studio with the folks out at the MLB Network. And they were on MLB Central. They were doing some interviews. They did some fun little games on camera. And it was a cool opportunity for those guys who had to miss the MLB Draft Combine a couple of weeks ago in Phoenix because they were playing important baseball games. But they get an opportunity to be on the national spotlight, and it was and they weren't wearing any LSU stuff. They're kind of wearing their MLB Draft like combine polo shirts and whatnot, but they were very, very obviously complimentary of LSU and spent a lot of time talking about their national championship team. And I thought it was one. I think it's indicative of where Chase Shores and Daniel Dickinson have eyes. Like, and I told y'all this last week. Like, I do not, under any circumstance, expect those guys to come back to LSU. I think there are those that look at Chase Shores. He's only a sophomore because he redshirted a year, and he could come back and start, and he can improve his draft stock, and all that is true. Like, he could theoretically come back and improve his draft stock. But the fact of the matter is that he is throwing 101-mile-an-hour sinkers and slamming the door on multiple College World Series games and throwing lights out in the SEC tournament. There are scouts everywhere. Somebody's going to take the 6'8" kid that does 101-mile-an-hour sinkers with a pretty good slider. That's going to happen. So these guys are done at LSU. I mentioned in the last hour that the guys that have options have spoken to the LSU program, and there's a plan for them if they decide to move on or if they decide to stay, and that I've been told. But I don't anticipate any path for these guys coming back. And it's indicative when you go and do something like this. I'm not suggesting that if you go talk to the MLB Network and you go talk to Bill Pito or Mark DeRosa or whoever they had at the time on MLB Central, like that you're ineligible to return. No, you're very much eligible, but you understand that they're not. And it's a cool deal because these guys have different stories. Like Jared Jones committed to the Nolan Cain Pulmonary staff. And then Pulmonary retired, and Nolan Cain was not going to be back at LSU. And then he was at A&M, and Jay Johnson came in and re-recruited him, and they got Jared Jones to come to school, and he becomes the third all-time leading home run hitter in the history of the program. And Chase Shores was a guy who was committed to a different school, and then Jay Johnson gets him to commit to LSU, and then he comes and he's an immediate impact reliever, and then he blows his elbow out, and he's got to come all the way back, and then he loses his rotation spot at the start of the year, and finally it clicks at the end, and he becomes a dominant reliever for a championship team. And then you've got Dickinson and Ianson, who, Dickinson is a walk-on at Utah Valley, but plays hard, works hard, produces, plays great, jumps in the portal. Boom. LSU says, you're our guy, second base, come on in. And he had a great year, a great, great year. Y'all remember, if you listen with any sort of frequency, like what I was talking about with Danny Dickinson in January, because he did not hit last summer when he left Utah Valley, and he did not hit in the fall. And I'm going, okay, like he looks pretty good in the uni, and his defense looks really good. And I see the production from Utah Valley, and I see the bat speed, and I see the fact that Team USA wanted to try out. But I'm looking at a guy who's not hitting. So it's possible that his skills don't quite translate. But if they do, you could really have something, because he stole a lot of bases at Utah Valley, and he hit some home runs at Utah Valley. And, like, this could be a guy that is a middle-of-the-order bat for you. And it turned out he was. And I didn't even give him full credit when he was lighting it up in February and early March, because I knew he could hit North Dakota State, and I knew he could hit Purdue Fort Wayne. He did that at Utah Valley. But he came to LSU, and he wasn't hitting the LSU staff. But he figured it out, and he was awesome. And he deserves a shot at pro baseball to see what he can do, even if he's counted out again. And then you look at Ianson, who was under-recruited, stayed close to home as a SoCal kid, pitched pretty well for UCSD, and then jumps in the portal. Team USA wanted to look. LSU brings him in. He gets into all these resources that LSU has, from the pitching lab to the weight room to the nutrition to the coaching to all that, and he blossoms into something that he really wasn't last year at UCSD. I mean, his strikeout numbers ballooned against far better competition. You're out there in the Big West. That's child's play compared to the SEC, compared to Omaha. And he was pretty good against the Big West. He was elite against the SEC 10 months later. That is a testament to LSU. And that is this group of players right here, from Shores, who is a significant draft risk as a high schooler that comes in and blossoms, to Jones, who was kind of a one-tool player looking for a position to play, lost his job as a freshman, becomes an all-time great in terms of home runs at LSU. Dickinson, under-recruited, not recruited, small school, portal, blows up, boom, onto the MLB network. And Ianson, best number 2 in college baseball, pitches game 2, the clinching game of the National Championship Series, and throws it great. Like, very, very different backgrounds. Georgia, Texas, Washington, California, different routes here, but the same ultimate result. And I think Ianson and Shores are going to be top 60 picks. I think Jones and Dickinson will be middle of the first 10 rounds picks. And hopefully those guys just go crush it in minor league baseball and make it up to the show. But one thing you'll always have is the experience they had at LSU, the national championship that they won in Shores and Jones' case, 2 of them. And now an opportunity like this to go up there on MLB Network and to be on national television and to have that type of experience that you just don't get if you're at Utah Valley or UCSD. You just don't. And you don't get it if you sign a pro contract and go play for the, Helena, Montana Mountain Cats or whatever they are in high A. It's just something you get from the exposure that college baseball and a program like LSU, which you struggle to say a program like LSU because there's not really a program like LSU. but a high-end college baseball program offers you that opportunity. No matter if you're an elite high school recruit like Shores or no one have ever heard of you like Danny Dickinson. It all kind of came full circle for this team and their togetherness and the fact that they got it done when it mattered most. And it was cool to see those guys have that experience. And it also should, if you're an LSU fan, give you the closure on any of these guys that you were hoping, well, might come back. Dickinson could come back. Shores, like, good leverage. He could start. Not going to happen. These guys are going to go play pro baseball. They're going to ride off with that national championship ring into that Omaha sunset, and that'll be the end of their time at LSU. And that's okay. They got it done, what they came here to get done, and it's a really cool thing to watch those guys kind of live all of that out. So just a note that I wanted to share this morning when I watched those guys give their interviews on they talked to Jared Jones about him hitting the walk-off against Tennessee, telling the ump the game was over, and they talked about going to LSU football games on a Saturday night, and Dickinson said he charged the field after LSU beat Ole Miss this past year. And just cool stories, cool opportunity for those guys, and they missed their chance to go to the draft combine June 17th to 21st. They were very much in Omaha, but now they get their chance to do some cool stuff like this. So awesome stuff for those guys and the brand that is LSU. Sharief Ishaq in 15 minutes, the Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Look, the people at Genesis are part of what makes the Genesis experience great. Their brand ambassadors are so welcoming. They're so helpful. The facility is first class when you get out of your car and walk in. Airline at Piku, you'll be greeted. You won't be pressured or upsold or taken advantage of. All those stereotypes exist for a reason. They just don't exist at Genesis of Baton Rouge. So if you're looking for a luxury vehicle and a luxury experience to go with that vehicle, go to Genesis of Baton Rouge. You've probably never been behind the wheel of a Genesis. Those are the odds at this point. They're fairly new to the game. Just go see. Put it on your list. You're going to be on Airline Highway anyway if you're in-person shopping for a new vehicle. If you don't want to do it in person, just go to GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Want to test drive? They'll come to you at the office or at home. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, as I mentioned there. Airline at Piku across from Women's Hospital. Online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So at the end of the hour, I talked a little bit about the rankings from the EA Sports college football video game, and we talked about how Jelani Watkins and Barry Brown are two of the 7 fastest guys on the game, and LSU's got a lot of speed, and that's all well and good. And I want to be clear, I'm not doing this segment to make the EA Sports ratings of virtual video game players like really relevant to the conversation of college football. It's more so just a light introduction into football talking season and kind of a take that I have right now that I want to dig deeper into before we go to Atlanta for media days in a couple of weeks. But I was looking at the top 20 quarterbacks for EA College Football 26, and I mentioned that Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier are tied for first with Drew Aller from Penn State at a 92 overall. But like the video game, say what you will, like that's who they say are the most talented quarterbacks in the country. And then I start to look through the list, and like Lenoris Sellers is 5th. He's a 91. And John Mateer is right there with him at 91. And Arch Manning is a 90, and DJ Lagway is a 90. And it goes through all the way through 20. And you go through the top 20 quarterbacks in the country, you do not see an Alabama quarterback. You do not see a Tennessee quarterback. You do not see an Auburn quarterback. You do not see an Ohio State quarterback. You don't see a Michigan quarterback. These are some of the programs that we consider the best in the sport. Now, Auburn hasn't been for a while, but there are times they've been really good. You've got LSU, and then from the SEC, you've got South Carolina, Oklahoma with John Mateer, as I mentioned, at 6, Arch Manning at Texas, DJ Lagway at Florida, and that's it until you get to Diego Pavia at number 17. And as great as the story was from Diego Pavia last year, if you told me that Diego Pavia was playing quarterback for LSU this fall, I wouldn't feel great about that. And if you told me Diego Pavia was playing quarterback for Alabama this fall, I would feel great about that. I think Diego Pavia is a nice story. I think he runs around and is kind of exciting. Do I think Diego Pavia is an elite college quarterback? I don't. I think he's fun. I think he's a fun college quarterback. Am I terrified that Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt are going to beat LSU in Nashville this fall? I am not. And it's just interesting to me that we're going to sit here and who knows what Ty Simpson does at Alabama this year. And who knows what Kirby Smart is going to be able to get out of his quarterback. And maybe Tennessee dodged a bullet with Nico and they'll be better at the position than they were the last 2 years. But it feels like some of the heavyweights in the SEC have big question marks at quarterback. And that's not because EA Sports says so. It's just like common sense thinking. In this era of the transfer portal, you just think of SEC teams kind of plugging and playing. So, like, you either have your guy from last year or you know what you've got next. And, like, I'm going to learn more about Ty Simpson over the next 3 weeks. I'm going to learn more about Ty Simpson over the next 7 weeks. And then we'll really see what Ty Simpson is at Alabama in the first month of the season, right? But does it feel like it's going to look like Tua? Does it feel like it's going to look like Bryce Young? I don't know. You just kind of always figured once Saban finally figured it out at quarterback and he got beyond the Blake Sims, Jake Coker stage, that they were just really good at quarterback kind of the rest of the way. Milroe had his issues, sure, but like, was he terrifying at times? Yeah. If you're an LSU fan, he was terrifying the whole time. But like, it just, I'm not petrified of Lenora Sellers coming in here. I mean, I think DJ Lagway's a really good player. Does he just strike fear into my heart coming into Tiger Stadium this year? Probably not. Do I think John Mateer is just going to go nuts this year at Oklahoma? Do I? Probably not. It doesn't feel like a great quarterback year in the league. And I want to be like very clear on July the 1st here, okay? I will bring some statistics. I will watch some more video. I will further educate myself to the degree that I can. I'm not a scout. I'm not a coach. I'm not a GM. I'm a guy with a microphone. But I do plan to put in the work. I haven't yet. This is a surface level view, kind of like stretching my football muscles before we get to Atlanta for media days. And I just feel like the SEC quarterback crop is a little underwhelming. You're pinning everything on Arch Manning being a superstar, which maybe he is. Maybe he's not. Garrett Nussmeier is the only one in this group that's like legitimately proven against the best. Yeah. And he had some significant turnover issues in some of those games.
There's a few interesting things in terms of just LSU wise, that in terms of the ratings for the team. So a couple of things. First, there are currently, we know, 3 LSU players ratings because they gave out the top 100 players that are rated in the game. And Garrett Nussmeier is number 1 at 92. The second, or well, yes, he's 91, but there's one more guy that's 91 overall as well for LSU. I don't think you're going to get it because I was shocked.
So Perkins was easy because like we're talking like just freakish athleticism here, and that's what they're going to prioritize. The next one, let me think about the entire field here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at you in case you want to nod. I'm listing a potential list here, and then I'll make my pick.
Okay.
Caden Durham is interesting to me because he's really fast and he was good as a freshman. And then I would look to Trey'Dez Green's a freak of nature. Nick Anderson had a ton of touchdowns 2 years ago. Patrick Payton was a freak statistically at Florida State. And then offensive line, I just don't think so. So, and we know Barry Brown's got really high speed numbers. I'm gonna go with Caden Durham.
Nope, it's actually a defensive player.
Okay. Oh, Whit Weeks.
Nope.
Okay, I would have felt bad if I missed.
I was thinking him too, but no, it's not him either.
Is it Patrick Payton?
Nope. It's hard. I mean, I'm shocked, honestly.
I don't think that you can give any of the corners that grade based on what they've done.
Ashton Stamps is 91 overall.
I mean, that's a pretty lenient grading scale. If we're being honest.
I'm shocked. Like, look. Could Ashton Stamps take a really big step this year and be LSU's maybe? I think DJ Pickett might be their best corner, even though he hasn't played a snap yet. But could Ashton Stamps take a step and be really good? Yes, he could. But the fact that they already have him this high before the season even started is pretty surprising to me.
It is. I'm looking. Okay, I quickly pulled up the Madden rankings. I'm going to find a 91 on Madden. Okay. Here's some 91s on Madden. Devontae Adams, Daniil Hunter, who's got like 1 billion sacks, is a 91 on Madden. Vita Vea.
I'll say
Khalil Mack.
Look, I'll say that it's hard to translate the ratings because it's all relative.
Correct.
It's
all relative.
In college football, there's going to be guys that are 91s that
But if you would have asked me what's Ashton Stamps'
I would have
rating
said
on the
like
game,
84.
I would have said
maybe.
like 78.
I would have said that low, but for college football, like you're gonna have even the guys that aren't necessarily amazing talents, they're still gonna be a little bit higher rated.
They're very lenient,
on
the college side of this thing, and that's okay because again, this stuff doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and one other thing that I thought was very interesting, they also had the team ratings in terms of just their overall team rating, and then like their defense and offensive number. LSU is an 89 on offense and a 92 on defense. So they had the defense.
That can't be right.
They have the LSU's defense with a 92 and their offense is an 89, which is
man, that's the thing. And we don't know anything at this point. If you could promise me that LSU was going to be good on defense, I would be like, okay, they're going to be really something. And I'm sure there are a lot of LSU fans that are sitting there today going like, yeah, they're going to be good on offense. I mean, defense. I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
I want to look a little bit.
I will say I don't know why this is. It's hard to. There's a lot of things that go into how they decide how these ratings are how each stat goes into the rating. But the top offense is a 91 for Texas, and then the top defense is Alabama at 96. So there's not even an offense that is close to the higher rated defenses. So there may just be some kind of way that the overall like works out for each side of the ball. But I did think it was very interesting that LSU's offense was lower than the defense.
It's I'm starting to get there with the football thing. We talked about it yesterday. And I'm gonna over the weekend when I come back Monday, I'll be more. A long weekend, a holiday weekend, I'll be more versed into. I intentionally don't want to slam the gas pedal on football consumption in early July because you'll run out of gas. I'll run out of gas. I don't know about everyone, but I'll run out of gas. And I want to pace myself getting into it, and I want to be full speed ahead when they report for camp. The Saints are in 3.5 weeks or so, and LSU's a week after that. But I'm interested in a number of things with LSU, and the defense just as a whole is one of them. The offensive line, I have no concerns, no issues, no fears whatsoever on LSU's skill players on offense. It's just none. I think Nussmeier's great. I think the wide receiver core is great. I think the tight end versatility is awesome. I trust Caden Durham to be a great SEC back. I don't know what the offensive line is, and I don't know what the defense as a whole is. A defense has to be the sum of its parts. You can have a great defense. You can have a terrible defense with 3 great players on it. But if the other 8 guys can't do their job, it doesn't matter. It's a sum of the parts deal. And I think that LSU's individual parts have a lot of potential. They have to work together as a sum. And it's a big question. It'll certainly be one that we ask for the next 8 weeks until they kick this thing off in Clemson, South Carolina. So you can tell it is July. We are talking about NCAA football rankings and speed ratings and how John Mateer compares to Lenora Sellers. But here we are. So let's talk some Saints with Sharief Ishaq coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website if you're looking at the National Hurricane Center, and they send some tweets out from time to time. There is some activity. None of it threatens us at all right now, but that day does come later in the summer. And the time to look at your property policy is right now. And if you don't understand what you're looking at in a property policy, just call the Highland Insurance Group. They will look at your policy for free. They're the experts. And I've spoken with Jonathan Carvo and his team on numerous occasions kind of about the things that they do to help their clients, and they are on top of it. I spent 7 years in insurance. I don't know it like I once did, but I know it well, and they know it a lot better. If you need someone to trust on your side, your insurance broker should be like your attorney. They should be like your CPA. You should be able to trust them with the inner workings of your commercial operation, and they'll make sure you're protected. They've got dozens of markets as an independent agent that they can contract you with for your commercial insurance program. And on the property side, they've got a lot, and that can be slim pickings down here in South Louisiana. If you want to be sure you can trust your broker to have your commercial policy placed in the right place with the proper coverages, Howard Insurance Group needs to be the first call you make. Check them out online. You can contact them right there. Reach out. Tell them you heard about them about them on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's the Howard Insurance Group online at highlandig.com.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You just missed it or did miss it earlier today, the news of the day here, kind of in this market. Santiago Garcia, left-handed pitcher from Oregon, transferring to LSU. High school teammates with Stephen Milam. Had a really good close to the season with the Oregon Ducks and has been throwing the ball great in the Cape Cod League this summer, and he'll be left-handed arm for the LSU staff. They've now added 3 left-handed pitchers in the transfer portal over the last week, and we think there's some offense probably on the way in the next few days. We'll keep you posted if we learn anything. And obviously, you can stay tuned for all of it on LouisianaSports.net. Let's transition over to the New Orleans Saints. Sharief Ishaq, WDSU, is our guest from down there in New Orleans. Sharief, how are we doing?
We're doing well. I appreciate you coming on the Zoom once again. I feel like I'm monopolizing your time at least once a month.
I think that I have done that 3 times total. You have joined this show 150 times. So I don't think the trade-off is very fair. I'm getting far more out of you than you are out of me, but I'm happy to help whenever possible. So I'm glad to have done it. I want to talk about Tyler Shook a little bit because he's gone on some podcasts, and it sounds like he's really endearing himself to the Saints fan base. Have you caught on to that?
Yeah, he was on the St. Brown's podcast.
Yeah,
and that's probably they were dissing the food, which I'm kind of tired of those two guys trashing the city of New Orleans and the food here. It's getting kind of old, and I'm kind of glad that Tyler Shook stuck up for the city and said that's probably why you're not here anymore. And he's right. I mean, look, the guy is endearing. He was at Manning Passing Academy again as a counselor, as an NFL player. He didn't have to be there, and he was there again this year. And I think that really endeared himself to the Manning family. He's doing a lot of stuff that the former quarterback didn't do for this New Orleans Saints in the city of New Orleans. Going to the restaurants, hanging out with people, just hanging out with normal people, the normal fans in the street, going to Metairie, going to the North Shore, just hanging out in the city, going to Manning Passing Academy. I mean, he is doing the things that you would want out of your possibly franchise quarterback, or at least your starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you need and you want from one of your leaders on the team.
What's your sense of his ability to lead from the interviews that you've been able to do with him, the practice you've been able to watch? It's always an interesting spot, but he's not your typical rookie because he's so old.
Yeah, but, he still has to go through that process. I still think it's still a process for him. He's still trying to learn how to become a leader in the NFL. It's different. He's 26, but it's still different in the NFL. Whenever you have to become a leader for guys who are in their 30s or upper 20s that have been playing in the NFL for a few years now, like Alvin Kamara. You're trying to lead that guy. You're trying to lead those offensive linemen who pretty much have been playing for a few years now. It's different, but he's catching on. And I think the guys have spoken very highly of him in terms of being a commanding voice in the huddle and in the locker room. So that's a plus thing. That's a plus side for Tyler Shook as he continues to grow in this process.
2 questions here, very different questions, but the same. What do you think the Saints organization's expectation of him is this first year? And then the second part of it is, what do you think Saints fans expect out of him for this year?
Well, I think the organization and Kellen Moore and the rest of the offensive coaching staff just hopes that he can learn. He can learn this system, that he can be patient and not get frustrated, because it's, the bullets do come at you very fast in the NFL compared to playing at Louisville. I mean, the processing the game, they want him to be able to sit there and process. They don't want to throw him into the fire just to fail and kind of hinder his ability to grow. I think that's what they want. They want to see him gradually grow in the system, and just in terms of being in this franchise. What the fans are expecting, I mean, it's hard to tell, Hunt, because I think you're hearing a lot of, well, this team's going to suck. They're not going to win more than 5 or 6 games. Vegas has them at, I think, 5.5 or 6. So I just think they want something that's a good product. They want something that's exciting, you're showing me something for the future. Give me something that's like, okay, I think we're going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be good. Show us that arm talent. Show us that you care. Show us that, you won't go out in the field and fight with your center. You won't throw bad balls and get your players hurt. I'm being serious. I really think that the fans want to see, like, he's in tune, he's in sync with his offensive players. I think that's what they want. They want that level of fun, accountability, and excitement. So that's the thing that he has, the standards he's going to have to meet as this, his career goes along.
It's interesting because, like, the Bears and the Browns do this with a young quarterback like every 3 years. The fan base kind of knows what they're doing. The Saints haven't done this ever. So, like, it's something they haven't drafted a quarterback this early in 50 years. So I just feel like this fan base is not equipped to, or hasn't been through nurturing a young quarterback along. They've always had one from free agency.
Correct. You're correct. I mean, I haven't drafted a quarterback this high since Archie Manning. You're right. So it's like it's getting used to something new, and that's just how it's going to have to be for the next year or two. People keep asking me, like, man, how long is this process going to be? It's like, it's going to be at least a couple years. You're going to have to hope that they have some growing pains, good growing pains throughout this year, and you hope that they draft very well again next year. You hope the players from this year's class, and you hope next year's class hits, and you have a bunch of money in terms of salary cap, because you're going to lose some of those veterans as probably expected, and you're going to have some money to spend, and you do well in free agency. But that's just the life of football, the cycle of the natural life of football. You hope that I think personally that they have to be very patient. They have to be very patient the next couple years, and that the franchise has to hit on 100% hit on draft picks. This class has to be good, and the next class has to be really good. Plus, you have to spend your money wisely whenever you get it. So I think that's the gist of it. I think they understand that's the process with this team now. It has to be a patient process, and you're not going to get the 10, 11 wins this year and be like deep into the playoffs. That's once every few years you see it. You saw it with Jaden last year. It's been a while, but even before that. I mean, it happens every once in a while. But I personally don't see it happen. I'll come on your air and talk for 30 minutes how wrong I was if it happens, but it's going to be tough. I'll be honest, it's going to be very tough. It's going to be there'll be some growing pains for everybody this year.
You're mentioning the fans like, well, this team's not going to be good. The over/under's 5.5, 6, but still, you look at the ticket sales for the training camp practices, and they're flying off the shelves, and everybody was there for OTAs. Like, is there still a good amount of excitement in the city, even though maybe the expectations for some are very, very low?
Yeah, of course. And I think the biggest reason for that, you change coaches, because I think it's tired of the coaches, Dennis Allen, and Derek Carr's gone. So everyone was tired of those two guys in the city, and the accountability not being there. I think you can just feel the sense of relief in the newsroom. You can feel in the newsroom, in the locker room, you can feel the sense of relief with the fan base when they made all those changes. And everyone's out there with a smile for now. Everyone seems a little bit more relaxed and happy, because I think it's just the pressure is off for right now, because the expectations aren't really there. There are no real high expectations that, hey, we need to win 12 games this year, or we are going to make drastic changes and everyone's fired. No, it's hey, let's see what happens. Let's build. It's a process. Let's fix the things that we need to fix. Let's get the right players in here. Let's have deep players at each position. I think that's just how it's going to be run by Kellen Moore and the rest of the coaching staff and Mickey Loomis and his executives. It has to be that, look, we have to have a patient process. It's a soft rebuild, and then we're going to go from there. I think the fans realize it. I think that's all they wanted. They wanted a little bit of accountability. They wanted to see that some changes were being made, because they wanted to know that this organization still cares about its fan base. They heard him. They heard the fan base. They moved on from what wasn't working, and they brought in something that's young and creative, and this coaching staff and some of these players. So they're happy. They're excited. They came out and packed out the stands for mandatory minicamp, and they're going to pack it for the training camp.
It's a new era. Hopefully there's excitement a little bit more quickly than we all really anticipate. Let's talk about the Pels. Interesting moves that are being made, certainly on draft night, and trying to reshuffle this deck as quickly as possible. How did you see draft night for the Pelicans?
Yeah, I gave you 4 names. I didn't know they were going to move up that much and give up a protected pick, but unprotected pick. But I'm fine with it. Joe Dumars owns it. He owns it. He got the players that he wanted in the building. He said, I gave you 4 names that would be their 7th pick, and one of them was Jeremiah Fears, and they got Fears. They like Derek Queen. They got Derek Queen. They're just getting the guys they want in the building. He's unapologetic about his ways, and that's what you want. You want someone who is stern. You want someone who is just going to own the decisions he made. David Griffin really was kind of like a car salesman at times. Joe Dumars is not. Joe Dumars is straight to the point. Will not tell you. He does not care what me and you think. He does not care what Bill Simmons thinks. He does not care what any national media thinks about what the Pelicans are doing. Doesn't care about Ryan Russillo making fun of them. They do not care. That's what I like about Joe Dumars. He's going to own and get the guys he wants. I thought the Jordan Poole trade was good. You get a 26-year-old in exchange for C.J. McCollum, who, by the way, amazing guy on and off the court for the city of New York. And then you add Kayvon Looney. I like, the numbers aren't the greatest numbers, but sometimes you don't need a center with the greatest numbers. You just need somebody with championship experience who's a veteran. 3 times in 10 years he won a championship with the Warriors. Hard-fighting guy in the paint will get you the 5+ rebounds a game, and that'll open things up for Zion Williamson, and it'll help out the wings like Trey Murphy. So, yeah, I've liked so far what he's done. Some people aren't going to like what he did because he gave up the pick for Derek Queen, but honestly, I keep telling people they keep doing this every year, drafting players, and guess what? They are not in the playoffs. So something has to change. Take a shot. Go get Derek Queen. Give up next year's pick. I don't care. Do something different. They did something different. People are going to be mad. So there it is. I like the players they have assembled. So
it's look, he wasn't tiptoeing. I don't know that I agree with giving up an unprotected pick, but it's a guy that's convicted in what he's doing, and if that's what you're hitching your wagon to, there's something to be said for that for sure. Sharief, we appreciate some time. We'll do it again next week. Thanks, man.
Anytime, Hunt.
Sharief Ishaq, WDSU down in New Orleans. Step aside. Come back and close it out with some Take It or Leave It next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, closet space may not be number 1 on your list, but you never know when you might have somebody move into the house like I did, and she looked around and went, "What is this?" It's a bad situation. And I didn't realize what a difference added closet space could make because I'm not all that bright. But we moved, we prioritized closet space, and it's made a massive, massive difference. You don't have to move to get a brand new customized closet space. David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets can do it for you. They've been doing it for 3 decades. So if you don't have enough room, you're jamming clothes in there, and there's suitcases, and there's all shoes all over the floor, you can either use your space more efficiently or just create a brand new closet. David and his team do that all the time. They're licensed contractors. They're bonded. They're insured. Don't just call the handyman down the street and float him a little bit of cash. Get somebody that knows what they're doing. David Duvall and his team can make that happen for you. Check out pictures of their great work at onebathandclosets.com. It's going to be functional. It's going to be gorgeous. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Wrapping things up here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Reminder, we are out as a station on Friday for the 4th, but shows tomorrow and Thursday to kind of wrap up the week. Then we'll have One more week of programming in July from Baton Rouge, and then the whole crew is going to head to Atlanta on Sunday of the following week for 4 days of SEC Media Days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we'll have OTB, my show, and AFR from the College Football Hall of Fame and SEC Media Days coming up in a couple of weeks. So it's, look, I talked about this at the top of the hour. Like, I would not suggest to you that we don't have anything to talk about in July. That's patently false. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got transfer portal stuff in baseball. We've got high school recruiting, and certainly there will be, like, Whit Weeks was named to a National American team today. There are things to talk about, and we will, and I'll certainly enjoy it. I more so enjoy and am more passionate about games. And LSU doesn't play a game until Labor Day weekend, and the Saints don't play a game until 2 weeks after that. So it is in that way it's a different season, and it's one that you've got to adjust to and kind of take in stride. But it's just not my favorite. It's not my favorite thing to do, to come in here and kind of talk about. We talked about video game numbers today, and I'd really rather talk about LSU's baseball's transfer portal. I thought for sure LSU would get another transfer while I was on the show today. And they still have 3 minutes to get that done, but I don't know that it's going to happen. But I do believe that LSU is still actively shopping in the transfer portal when it comes to baseball, and we'll keep you updated here and on LouisianaSports.net for all of that as it does happen. We've only got one more order of business to do here, though, so let's play a little Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Take it or leave it, brought to you by Flight by Yingling. I can promise you this. There will be some Flight by Yingling in my hand over the weekend out at the lake. Very much looking forward to that. If you're looking to pick up some cold beer for 4th of July weekend, get the next generation of light beer. It's just 2.6 carbs, 95 calories, brewed by the oldest brewery in America. That is Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All righty, first one here, The Sopranos in the Palmer house. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
Reluctantly.
All right.
The Sopranos is the best show ever. And maybe it is. And we watched the first episode over the weekend, the pilot episode. I've never seen it. I am aware of the controversial final scene. I don't really know what it means or how they got there. I wish I didn't have that as we start the show. I can't promise we're going to get all the way through it. Like,
it's
80
long.
episodes is a long way to go.
And they're an hour.
For a family that has 2 little kids that we can't, like, get down until 8:30 at night. So, like, Alyssa likes to go to sleep a little bit earlier. There's no, I don't have LSU baseball or LSU basketball in the weeknights, and like there's nothing that I'm like, I want to watch the Cubs, but I can do that on my phone. So I'm hopeful that we'll start to get into it and grind through. Do I think it's a lock? I do not. There's a chance that it fizzles. We only got through one episode, and now that was Saturday, and it's now Tuesday. So
yeah. And
we're not watching one tonight, I don't think, because she's got a work thing to do, and so it's just. I don't know. It's just life is tough to sit down and watch a lot of TV shows.
It is. I would suggest to try to stick it out. I know, a lot of people do say, oh, it's the best show. It is very good. I've watched all of it. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen. There are some up and down in terms of like, this
is awesome. This is the storyline's not hitting the same.
Yeah, sometimes, but it's really good, and it's definitely worth a watch. But it is 80. It's 8 seasons.
80 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours.
It's a lot.
All right, next one, the Cubs, Hunt. They just have a 2-game lead over the Brewers. Only 3 as well over the Cardinals, who are still hanging around somehow. They're getting a little worried. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it.
Leave it alone.
The Cubs are better than those teams. The Brewers' pitching is irritating me a little bit.
Yes.
They're throwing it very well. Cubbies have not pitched it as well, and the offense kind of went a little cold, but they're still in good shape. They're treading water. They've got to beat the bad teams on their schedule, and there are plenty of those. So they got to go trade. They got to go get some pitching.
Yeah.
Which has got to happen pretty short order. So we'll see. But I feel good about it. Like if you would have told me before the season, 2-game lead at 4th of July, which we're not there yet, but like I would have said, okay, I'll play with that.
All right, last one here. The Milwaukee Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard and also going to be signing Miles Turner from the Pacers. The Bucks waiving Lillard and signing Turner. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I mean, I don't. The NBA is like the biggest reality TV show there is.
It is.
And like now Giannis apparently is ticked off and telling people about it and like that. Just don't think that happens as much in the NFL or the MLB. It's a soap opera, and that's probably good for ratings. But it's wild how often these stars change teams. It's just wild to me. But that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. It's been a good show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. A lot of baseball transfer portal talk. Had Glenn West talking LSU. Had Sharief Ishaq talking Saints. Always a reminder to check out Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints on YouTube for all of your football content. Musso, going to drive you home. He's back. Not still out this week. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Wednesday edition Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.